Welcome to my channel, and Erik Brazzelle. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome to meet you. I have not met you yet. I think you're part of the Round Canopy Parachute Team, but it's awesome to talk to you. And you tell the people about yourself a little bit, where you come from, and your time in service.
Okay, my name's Erik Brazzelle. I was born and grew up in Joliet, Illinois, and in '87, my dad used to work for Fermilab, but his boss was helping build Jefferson Lab down here in Newport News. And he asked my dad if he wanted a job there, seeing that my mom's from here. And actually, the house that I'm in is the house that my mom grew up in. So in '87, moved down here to Virginia, and in '89, turned around and joined the military. Originally went in as 19 Delta Cav Scout. In '92, I re-enlisted and went airborne infantry. So then I went to jump school and infantry school and was assigned to 373 in 82nd Airborne for about a month. My boys were born prematurely, 3 months early. So they were special needs. So they moved me from 82nd to Fort Belvoir. And a year after I got there, I went ahead and got out because of my wife at the time. So then I turned around, got on with the Suffolk Fire Department, and decided, why waste my military time? I go in the National Guard. So I joined the Virginia National Guard, and the whole time I was in active duty, never left Conus. So I was always in the States. Watched Panama kick off, or watched Bosnia and Djibouti. So all those conflicts go on, but never went anywhere. Went in the National Guard, figured, National Guard doesn't go anywhere. I'll be all right. So 9/11 kicked off, and next thing I knew, I was in the 1st 111th Field Artillery as an infantryman / scout. And then we got attached to 2nd 111th, which became 654th MP Company, which was slotted for Baghdad from January 2006 to January 2007. When we got to our FOB, which is FOB Union 3, it was right next to the Bath Party House. Our barracks were the bombed out Republican Guard barracks, and our chow hall was the Republican Guard's morgue that was converted.
A morgue that was converted into a chow hall.
Yep.
Okay. That's I have so many questions.
I wish I had answers.
I just trying to visualize it. Was it a walk-in fridge where they kept all the bodies, or was it like drawers? Did they use that? Did they make those into the refrigeration for the food?
When we got there, the chow hall was pretty much opened all up. So apparently all the containers that they had in there, they'd removed. Still had the drains in the floors and all that good stuff, but that is what it is.
I would expect to see like one table over there with the where the body would lay out on it, and that's where they would cut meat up and stuff. Just a little remnant of it, so that way you can see it in the corner, remind you of what it was.
We had contractors that were the cooks, and I think they were all from India.
TCNs.
And it cracked me up because St. Patrick's Day came along, and of course they decided they were going to do corned beef and cabbage, us Americans. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey man, they're having corned beef and cabbage." And I'm like, "Dude, don't do it. Get the burgers." And he turned around and got the corned beef and cabbage. He's like, "Man, this is the worst corned beef and cabbage I've ever had."
Yeah. Yeah, burgers be a whole lot easier to do than corn. There's so much involved with corned beef. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when you have nothing against Indians because I love Indian cooking, but when they try and do American type cooking, it just doesn't come out right.
Well, that's the same could be said for a lot of Americans trying to do Indian food. It doesn't always come out
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
There's a lot in the technique. Yeah, that's true. Very true.
but
That's
after my deployment to Baghdad with 654th, I got back to the States and was with 116th Infantry, and we got popped for another deployment. This time going, excuse me, this time going to Kuwait, which would have been a cakewalk compared to what we did in Baghdad. Because while we're in Baghdad, we were PSD for Maliki, and then the last part of our deployment, one of the other units was doing the police transition team, and they were getting beat up pretty bad, and they said they needed a break, so we wound up picking up their mission. So yeah, we had a little bit of fun and stuff while we're there. On my second deployment, before we even got out of the state, they realized something wasn't quite right with me. So they sent me to the doc. They found out my shoulders, my back, and my knees were messed up because my truck had been hit by a mortar IED. We laughed at the insurgents at the time because none of us got killed. None of us were actually even bleeding. It just broke the frame on our Humvee, shoved the right front wheel up into the frame, and came to an abrupt stop. And when we did, I hit the 50 cal, the back of the turret, and then fell inside. Of course, I cussed my driver out, but my driver was like, "I didn't touch the brakes." But his knees went into the dash. He was Nolan's, geez, I think 6'4", and he was the driver of the Humvee, so it looked like he was driving a go-kart when he was in there. I mean, his knees were up by the side of the steering wheel, but when that happened, his knees went into the dash. Of course, messed his knees up. But going back to the second deployment, they found out that I had some issues, so I was pulled off of that. But in the meantime, I was a firefighter in the city of Suffolk here in Virginia, and two great jobs. Loved both of them. National Guard sent me to the Warrior Transition Unit at Fort Eustis, and that's where I got retired from in 2010, and was retired by the fire department about the same time. So then I had the struggle of trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life afterwards.
yeah.
Because the two jobs that I really love, I couldn't do anymore. So been putzing around with different things. I ride motorcycles. I ride with a group called CVMA, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association. Great group of guys. They're a 501c also. And always had on my bucket list, I wanted to get to Vicenza after I went airborne, because my family's actually from Calvini, Italy.
Oh wow.
And Vicenza's like right next to it. But never made it there. One of the things that Vicenza does is they jump in Normandy, which is on my bucket list. So I would like to jump to Normandy.
It's an amazing
So-
time.
So I started looking at getting recertified and found RCPT. Was looking at a couple of other ones, but they're further out west, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a little hard to get out there for that. But with the Florida, it's not too bad. It's about a 10, 11 hour ride for me. And while I was there, most of the guys that were prior service that were in my group live right on the East Coast in my area. One guy's Keith Dixon. He lives over in Norfolk, which is about 30 minutes from me.
I jumped with Dixon.
There's another guy, Wade. I'm going to forget his first name. Anyway, Wade lives out by where one of my sons lives in Cartersville. So, well, my son lives in Cartersville. He lives in Farmville. So found out there's a bunch of guys that live in this area that were down there and had a great time.
Yeah. The Round Canopy Parachute Team is a great atmosphere to be, especially when you've been out for a little bit and you get down there and it feels like you're back in again. At least the camaraderie, and of course the hurry up and wait as you get rigged up and wait to get on the bird.
Yeah,
that reminds you a lot of it, and people yelling at you. And
the hurry up and wait wasn't as bad as active duty though. because active duty, we got everything on, and then we sat there for hours.
Yeah. But when you're a civilian, you get to the point you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why am I abusing myself? I voluntarily am doing this. It's not like I'm getting paid to do it now.
Yeah. My first jump that I did with RCPT, I remember sitting in the door, and before getting into the door of the pack, I was sitting there going, just like when I was on active duty, what the hell am I doing?
Yep.
Then I got to the door and it's like, well, time to go.
Yep. Can't hold the line up.
But
yes,
it's
I wasn't airborne.
There. You were?
So I wasn't airborne. My brother was. And so when I went through I was Army, but I didn't do airborne. So I went through the jump school program. So my first jump was out of the Cessna. And let me tell you, I questioned all the reasoning in life, but my brother was my jump master. So that helped a lot, because then it was like, now he's older than I am. So I can't wuss out now. I gotta go. I gotta do the thing. The door opened and I was like, oh God, what am I doing?
Yeah. One of the reasons why I went airborne is my uncle Ray. He was in the 11th Airborne Division in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
So when I was growing up, I was surrounded by prior service personnel. My uncle was, like I said, 11th Airborne. My neighbor across the street, Ernie Danzero, actually was in the Battle of the Bulge. So he was in Bastogne. My dad was Navy, but he was a bubblehead. He was on submarines. My little league coach was 1st Armored Division, Vietnam. My uncle on my mom's side was 1st Armored Division. So, yeah, there was military all in my family. So I felt like the least I could do is serve in peacetime.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's awesome that you had those men around you too. That's just having the even if they didn't tell you stories, just knowing about what they've done. I mean, that's got to be impactful on you as a human being, to be around that much. They won't call it that, but heroism and just duty.
Yeah. Actually, the first C-47 jump that I had, because my uncle told me about jumping out of the C-47, And he said he could have sworn the tail was going to cut his head off when he went out the door. But my first jump from the C-47, when I hit the ground, I had my GoPro going. And first thing I thought of was, hey, Uncle Ray, that jump was for you. And it was a good one. So,
Yeah. That's awesome that you were able to do that. Was he still alive, or is he already gone?
yeah, he's still alive. He's 88 years old now. When I graduated jump school, I wanted him to pin my wings on. So he came down and pinned my wings on for me.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Wow.
And it was kind of funny because he asked me, he's like, how do you want your wings pinned on? I'm like, we're pinned on. He left a bruise on my chest for 2 weeks.
Man, that's the way to do it. That's the way to
But
blood wings, as much as they hurt and suck, it's there's something that there to that, especially when it comes from somebody like that.
yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I still believe in the tradition part. I mean, I know they can't do it anymore, but or they're not supposed to. Let me put it that way. They're not supposed to, but
yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, well, there's been a few people that have died or been severely injured because they gave them the blood wings a little too aggressively.
okay. I've never heard of those. So for those instances.
Though in the Army, there was a guy who basically they gave him they hit him so hard it gave him his heart skipped a beat, literally, and gave him arrhythmia, and he nearly had a heart attack.
Yeah, I could see that.
So they had to stop. They had to stop using. That's why I kind of cringe a little bit when I see Bill bring up the steel pot, and I'm like, ooh, like I'm good with the fist or using the hand, but using the steel pot, it's like, ooh, you can break a collarbone really easy that way.
Yeah.
But like, ooh, worry. But yeah, that's when somebody gets a little too aggressive with it, because it's meant to be, done with vigor, but it could be a little, you get some corn-fed Iowa kid up there to
Yeah.
with a steel pot. He might do something to somebody.
Now, we did joke Vicky when she went to go pin on mine and Falco's wings. She dropped one set of the wings, and we're like, nope, you can't use those anymore. She's like, why not? I said, airborne superstitious. If you drop your wings, you can't wear those anymore because that means your next jump's going to be bad.
Oh, wow.
And she looked at me like I was nuts.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was one of the traditions. Or
yep, that's one of our superstitions. If you drop a set of wings, you can't wear them anymore. You have to get a new set.
Huh. But I know about the cherry jumps because I was fortunate. I did my cherry before they caught on, because we did them like all right in a row. I got my 5th in, and then we saddled back up, and I got my 6th in, and so I didn't have to worry about them trying to put cherry pies and stuff in my pants and in my helmet. It was like whoop, whoop, whoop. We just went.
Yeah, I had 5 when I went down there. So, like I said, I didn't get to jump with 82nd. I was only there for a month, and then they reassigned me. That was due to my kids being special needs. If you look at them now, you'd never know there was anything wrong with them. They both go bird hunting with me. So, and this year was their first year deer hunting with me. So nice. I took them out, set them up on a good spot, and yeah, they've got some stories to tell now.
Awesome. Well, that is an amazing thing, because I'm a deer hunter as well, and I love to hear stories about kids getting out and getting to sit in the woods. I've tried to take my kids a couple times, and my wife's the only one that likes to go with me now, so I take her when I can. If I have a stand or place I can put her up with me. But it's a I think it's a tradition that is lost on a lot of folks.
When we went out this year, I rented a property up in Amherst, Virginia. So it's about a 3-hour ride for me, but it's only an hour ride for each of them because Nick's living in Staunton and Ryan's in Cartersville. Nick just got restationed out in Virginia from Fort Huachuca. So he's down to his last 5 years before he is eligible to retire. So it looks like he's going to be in Virginia for good now. So I was like, well, if you guys want to go deer hunting, we'll go deer hunting. That way you quit raiding my stuff.
Yeah, I need to get my oldest son to stop raiding mine. He likes to go in there every time he sees it. He's wanting to cook stuff. He's 25. He lives with us because it's cheaper, and he's close to where he works, so it's not a big deal. It's cheaper for him, and it's cheaper for me too because he helps pay for some of the bills. So that helps me. And it's nice having the family close. I miss out on having I've got one that he's 45 minutes away, but I hardly ever see him because he's just working all the time, and we're working all the time, and so I enjoy having my family close, but I don't like having him raid my deer meat in the freezer when he wants to make something.
But usually once a month they'll come down and we'll go to my dad's house. And my dad just turned 85 in January. And part of the reason why we started bird hunting is my dad used to bird hunt in Illinois. And so for his birthday, which is January 9th, we go out beforehand and pheasant hunt. And then whatever we get, take back to his house and make him his birthday dinner's pheasant.
Oh, wow.
So we did pheasant and chuck this last time. Turned out pretty good. Only had, I think it was like 2 birds left over. There's a couple of people in the family that won't eat it, but and they're mostly kids. But other than that, yeah, doesn't seem like my family has a problem with eating game meat. So, which I think is way better than what you get in the store.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Better for you. It's not pumped up with hormones. And if you process it yourself, you don't have to worry about it having nitrates and stuff in it to preserve it, to make it look, keep it red in the store. Because that's what they pump it full of stuff. Because if you go to a meat market in Europe, you don't see the meat looking the same way it does over here.
Yeah. But yeah, I learned to butcher my own deer. So, because Virginia deer aren't that big. If you shoot a 134 pounder, you shot a big one where I'm at.
Yeah.
And of course, Virginia's got a nice little deer limit on it. They allow you to take 6 a year. So nice. We've got plenty of deer, just not real big.
Well, in DC, they have the no season, no limit in DC because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all archery and it's mostly residential hunting. But in Washington D.C., they have such a bad deer population problem that there's no limit, no season. You can kill as many as you want.
Wow.
Year round.
Well, when I first started hunting, I hunted out at a hunt club in Southeast Virginia. They run dogs at the hunt clubs, which is cool. I could sit there and listen to the dogs run deer all day long. But I did find out that they taste a lot different when they've been run than if they've been ambushed. And since then, I prefer archery. I like muzzleloader. Gun's okay if I've got the distance to shoot, but most of the time it's within 50 yards. So I mean, we've got pretty good woods here. So
Yeah. Yeah. In Georgia, we have our limit is 12, 2 bucks, 10 does, and one of the bucks has to be a quality, at least 4 points on one side. And yeah, we I use a rifle for most of the season, except for like right now, we're still season's still open till the end of the month, but it's archery only. It's extended archery season. It start at I think this is the second week of it. But yeah, we're almost our third week of the extended archery, and it'll be gone by this next weekend. But yeah, I we have so many deer around here, but it's hard to get to a place if you don't have a place, if you don't have your own property that has them. You go to public property, it's by this time of year they're all deep in the woods because
yeah,
they've been pushed so hard, and they're wary of all the hunters out there. And then you'll go driving down the road and you'll see them eating somebody's flowers in their front yard at 10 in the morning
yeah.
on the side of the road. And I'm like, really?
And when I took my boys, my son missed on the first shot, and I told him, I said, look, when you shoot, wait 30 minutes because something else is going to show up. And they're like, really? I'm like, trust me. Well, 15 minutes after my son Ryan shot, another doe walked out, and my son was getting ready to shoot it. Unfortunately, he hasn't used my rifles all that often. So mostly all the rifle he's been doing is iron sights with the military. So he didn't realize that the magnification was turned up on the scope, and he couldn't find the deer.
Oh man.
So
I do like the magnification when it's turned up that way. It makes it harder to miss when you can. When all you have is brown in the scope, you're good.
But when we got back up to the truck, I turned around and I asked him, I was like, hey, it's like, what happened? And he's like, I couldn't find the deer. I'm like, did you turn the magnification down? He's like, huh? I was like, all right, come here. And I showed him. I was like, now look through it. And he's like, oh, wow. Well, my wife's cat's walking by. Come on, monkey.
That's okay. There's a neighbor's cat running around here somewhere out here that I keep trying to get rid of because it likes to dig into the trash. I got a trash can. It tries to get the lid off the trash can every night. It's basically a yard cat, like a barn cat for the neighbor. It's always in my yard. It's always like, because we have pets. So I've come down in the morning and it's sitting on the window on the outside. My cat's on the inside. They're looking at each other, doing the mirror like, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Gordon setter that we use for bird hunting, and if the cats run, he'll chase them. If they don't run, he'll lick them. So he doesn't want to hurt them or anything. He just wants to play. He's a big goofball that wants to play all the time until he gets out in the field. Once he gets in the field, he's all business.
That's the one thing I haven't done as pheasant or quail hunting. I've done dove hunting, which I love. I've not done duck hunting yet. I don't know that I'm built to. I like the cold. I don't know that I like the cold that much.
The cold and wet, I
Yeah.
could do without. The wet part I could deal without. The
I
cold I
wouldn't
can
mind
deal
doing
with.
a field like the some of them, they do the fields. I would do that. I don't want to be in a swamp or in a river, in a blind or whatever where it's damp and cold and breaking ice. No, I'm good. Waders, no.
Yeah.
I want one of those little buddy heaters right there next to me. That's what I want to do.
But yeah, I've been trying to find my little niche or where I need to be after I got retired. And one thing that's helped is hunting. The the other two obviously are motorcycles and RCPT. I really enjoyed being down there. Everyone there was great. Frank was the first person I talked to. Vicky was our lead instructor for the prior service group. And I mean, everyone's just, they're great down there.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it.
Frank's pretty good for a warrant officer.
Well, yeah, can't complain. I haven't had much interaction with warrant officers. So
It's just a running joke at RCPT that we pick on him because he was a warrant officer. It's just
okay.
everybody just harasses him all the time, you know, because he's always walking around with a cup of coffee in his hand, like most warrant officers do, you know. But because he was a Army warrant officer, he was also a helo pilot, and he's also a police officer. So it's like, he gets a little extra grief from some of the guys just because, so I was an aircraft mechanic, and you don't have to find out who the pilots are. They'll tell you. That's from the mechanic side of it. It's like, who the pilots are because they tell you they're pilots, and they like to wear their Ray-Bans, and they like to be cool. They got to look good wherever they go. Yeah, and that's Frank. Got to look good.
If I would have known that he was law enforcement, I would have joked him while I was down there. Because one of the standard jokes with firefighters and police is, if the police officer would have scored better on the entrance exam, he could have been a firefighter.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think I saw a meme about that at one point where it was like firefighters because cops need heroes too.
Yep. But we joke each other. But when it comes down to it, it's just like the other branches when you're in the military. You joke the Marines, joke Navy, joke Air Force. But when it comes down to it, we're all brothers.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, it's like siblings until somebody starts picking on the other siblings, and then everybody starts bowing up.
Yep.
Like, no, you can't. That we're the only ones allowed to joke with our siblings.
Yep.
You can't joke with our siblings.
Yep. This is true.
Yep. Well, dude, it's been great talking with you. Are you planning on coming down? What's your next event you're coming down for RCPT?
It'll be Operation Sand Snake.
Okay.
I'll be able to make one in March. I'm squirreling away my money now so I can make it. Darren Hall and a couple of the other guys, I think, are going to do a Airbnb.
Gotcha.
So we're going to go in on that. So, because when I came down for Operation Black Cat, we stayed at the hotel that was like right up the road.
Right.
And yeah, I spent a little bit of money.
Yeah. Well, so the best way to go is either Airbnb, or you rent an RV trailer or RV and bring it down there and park it. Bring a generator with you, or bring down a couple of big tents and nice big air mattresses, and camp out. That to me is the cheapest way to go. Camping is the cheapest. RV is the next cheapest, and then Airbnb. But the guy I went through jump school with came over from London, and he was staying in a hotel, and I think it was like $1,000, $1,200 for the week, and he was staying in a no-tell motel. And I was like, dude, for that much money, we could have bought you a tent, a sleeping bag, a cot or an air mattress, and some lights and a chair, and then you could throw them away at the end.
Yeah.
Or give them to somebody and then fly back to London, and you for a couple $100 you'd have had a place to stay on the airfield. So, and it's also right there where everybody hangs out and eats dinner and drinks and socializes. So then you don't have to worry about driving anywhere after consuming some beverages.
Yep. One thing that I did realize when I got back from Baghdad, I like Scotch, and usually right around a 20-year-old Glenfiddich is my favorite. And when I came home from Baghdad, I went through one of those real quick. I was tossing the bottle, and I'm like, damn, I need to get another one. I'm like, no, I see a problem starting. So I kind of had to put that down for a bit. So I usually don't drink. I still have some up in the cabinet. I just don't get into it.
Yep. Well, I understand that. We got several guys that are like that, and that have been upstanding, been sober. So you're not alone. Don't worry.
But if anyone wants to drink, I've got no problem with it. I mean, I was down there in October, and I mean, it was a good time. I mean, I just didn't drink, but I mean, everyone looked like they were having a good time. So, and the jumps were something. They were a lot softer than what I remember on active duty.
Well, you're not carrying 50 pounds or 100 pounds of gear. that helps a lot.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about dropping a bag or that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's the parachutes work pretty good too. The SF10's nice.
Yeah, the SF10 is real nice compared to the T10 and what we called the Crash One Bravo, the MC1Bs.
Yeah.
Those hit hard.
Yeah, we use those and the set 10s and stuff for intentional water jumps. They got some, because they don't want to use up the SF10s and worry about having to dry them out all the time. So they do that. They use set 10s and the MC1s and stuff for intentional water jumps.
Yeah, they did that. I think the Sunday that I was down there, but I had to get back to Virginia, so I had to leave. I think I left Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. I had a friend of mine come down, and I was showing him around, and I was planning on doing a jump, but I was like, yeah, I need to get going so I can get home because my wife was taking care of my Gordon.
Yeah. Well, a water jump is quite nice. It is, especially we've had a lot of folks that have, if they've had injuries before or whatever, they're trying to recover from an injury. It's the best way to stay current. And they do them throughout the year. They do them during the 4th of July in the summer a lot down there. So if anything ever happens, you need to get a water jump in to stay current. It's a great way to do it. Go down there, and it's a lot of fun because you just jump with a life vest on, swimsuit, and water shoes, or tennis shoes with no socks, and you jump in. You just sit there in the water and let the reserve float, and you just wait for them to pick you up. And they're usually right there on it as soon as you get there. The worst part is if there's a lot of wind, because when you hit, you got to be ready to hold your breath because it's going to start dragging you for a minute before it collapses, and so you got to make sure to roll over, or because it could drag you with your face down, so you got to roll over real quick.
Okay.
Or hold your breath a little bit, but once it'll stop dragging you in a second, because it won't. Once it hits the water, it pulls it down pretty quick. So you might have 2 seconds, 3 seconds of getting pulled through the water face down, depending on which way the wind blows.
Yeah. Yeah, Vicky, I think, did the water jump on Sunday because she was getting over her knee surgeries.
Yeah,
so,
and it's like that's one of the way everybody gets around some of the being able to jump. That's how we've gotten disabled veterans to jump that can't do a normal jump. Getting guys airborne again, doing intentional water jump.
Yeah. When I got down there, I was looking at my jump log from active duty, and I realized that it was 31 years since my last jump.
Wow.
So it been a day or two.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, it's been great talking with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm going to Tuskegee for the Black History Month honoring the Tuskegee Airmen and the Triple Nickel Airborne Unit.
Yeah.
So I will miss seeing you there, but I'll hopefully get a chance to see you at Sand Snake. Every time I was going to be at Black Cat this last time, but I was up here. We just had the hurricane come through up here, and it just I was behind like 3 weeks, and then needed to catch up work wise since I'm self-employed. I gotta keep busy to keep the bills paid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, I look forward to meeting you at a future event. I'm hoping next year I'll be able to do the one at Tuskegee. If they do it again next year.
Yeah, they did one out in Washington, I think it was, or Oregon, for the Triple Nickel, because that's where it was the Triple Nickel, the all black airborne unit was stationed.
Yeah.
During World War II, was out there because they were smoke jumpers, but they're honoring them this year with Tuskegee. This is the first time they're doing it, trying to get it on this side of the coast, so because most of our jumpers are from this side of the country, because it's a big deal to fly all the way out to Washington or Oregon for some of these guys. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be doing something like that again. I don't know if it'll be at Tuskegee again, but I'm sure that we will do more stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Well, cool.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, and look forward to meeting you again.